Mem Vav Amud Aleph. Itmar. Kitana Sheniskacha Shaloi Dasavia. You know what I meant. Kitana that was Niskacha Shaloi Dasavia. Amarav. Bein he ubein avia yichadun la'akev. Either one could be ma'akev. Let's see Rashi. Says Rashi. Yichadun la'akev. Hayil d'bishas kabbalah lo nisrat sa'av. Since the time when she accepted the Kidushin, the father was not nisratzeh. In Basa Lachser, if she now wants to change her mind, before the father is agrees to it, and it won't help anymore the Ritzuyav. In other words, if she goes ahead and she accepts the Kedushin, the father doesn't know about it, and then she goes ahead and says, no, I don't want it, and then the father's Nisratza, she can be Ma'akav. That's the way Rashi learns. Taisus learns a different shot. We'll stay with Rashi. Okay, so and certainly the father can be ma'akev if he hears about it. Okay, that's Rav's din. Bein he bein avi yichal ma'akev. Ravasi Amar. Ravasi is of the opinion avi avloi he. Only the father can change his mind, but not her. Only the father, but not her. She can't. She's not a player in this. She's not a player in this. Again, you're dealing with a katana, guys. Eisvei Rav Huna Ravasi. Rav Huna said who said either one could change their mind. Yes, Ravasi. Now we know in the Torah. There is a pasha of mefate in Pashas Mishpatim, right? It says, "V'chiyifate ish besula." If a man entices a besula, ashaloya rasa that wasn't married, the shachavima, and he's with her, moar marena loyla isha. He should give her a moar. He should give her the kasuba like an isha. In moin yemoin, avia lasita like, and if the father doesn't want to give her, then kesef yishkol kamar besula. She's going to get 50 shkalim. Okay. So this is the pasha of Pitoy. So if the guy marries her, then he's off the hook. There's not a knas. If he doesn't marry her, then there is a knas. Okay, now what would not married stop? In moin yemoin avi if the father's not misratze. The question is, can the girl be misratze? Again, according to Rav Huna, either one. According to Ravasi, only the father. We're going to bring a raya, an attempted raya from mefate that either the father or her can go ahead and be mu'ayin, in other words, refuse the Kidushin, and therefore what? You have l'chara kasha and Ravasi. So Fred the Gemara, Eser Rav Huna Ravasi. Rav Huna said either the father or her. To Ravasi who said only the father can refuse. V'emi l'chia barav. Ravasi was not Rav Huna, but it's chia barav. The pasuk says by Pitoy, im mo'ayin yemoyin avia, ein li'el avia. Only if a father stops the action to the Kedushin, he atzaminai, and how do you know she can stop it? Tamad loymar in moin yemoyin mikamakam. It's a double lashon to include that even if the girl refuses the marriage, that it's off, and therefore you're going to have to pay what? You're going to have to pay the kanas. Okay, says the Gemara. What's the kasha? The kasha is the chayra. She can refuse. In moin yemoyin, not only is the half meaning of the Gemara is that he was mafataha and he was boil l'shem kedushin and not snus. Good. And nonetheless we're saying what? She can refuse. Kasha and Ravasi. So on that the Gemara answers, Amlu Rav, like Teisel Basa Ipcha. That's not a good. Don't go after this. It's not a it's very easy way to get out. In other words, it was nus, it was an act of nus. So Mameli, you know what? She's not refusing anything. Why do we need a pasuk? The pasuk is only when there is to refuse a marriage. If you're telling me there's no marriage because it was mizan with her, you need a pasuk to tell me that you can refuse. There is nothing to refuse. That what if she refuses that you pay knas kimufuta, that you're going to go ahead and pay a knas. If you're telling me that speaking that what she can refuse, and it's speaking where there's no kedushin, it's speaking that the pita b'shalom kedushin. So now, if it says meaning shetzrichi men kedushin, why do you need a kedushin? Then pita l'shemishas kedushin lamali. Why do you need a kedushin, guys? It says isha as a if the father refuses to give her as a wife. Meaning previously she wasn't given as a wife because the piti was shaloi l'shamishus. So in other words, the way you're learning pshat goes ahead and is buttressed by the pasuk. The pasuk shows clearly that what? That if the father doesn't want to give us an isha, because there wasn't ishus until now. Only until now was there possibility of ishus, not before. To Rabbi Yosef, you have no raya. Maybe it could be he was boil hol l'shem kedushin. And when it says the father is not happy with it, and the father is refusing it. But you have no raya clearly that it was speaking that there was no ishus before him. The bottom line is, as Rab says, it's easy to be doichedis, and therefore it's not a kasha on Ravasi whether the girl can go ahead and be refused the marriage or not. Says the Mishnah. Okay, we saw this the other day. Very involved. Not an easy Gemara. A man says to an isha, hiskachili bitamrezu, hiskachili bizu. Now, basically, he is saying two lashonos of kedushin. Be mikudeshes to me with this date, not kesef, but shava kesef. Be mikudeshes to me with this date. So each one in itself is a separate lashon kedushin. It's not a combo. The lashon of iskachi separates the two. That's what we made the other day. Remember, Rav Shimon Shita by what? By shvua, by regarding Asham Gezelos, which we'll see again for a second. So, what? Not the same as a bunch of vegetables. No. Date is a Shabbat Kesef. So iskachi b'tam rezu, iskachi bezu. Im yesh ba'achas mehem shavapruta. If you have an either one is shavapruta mekudeshes. Even if together you have, it will not combine because the skachi is going ahead and dividing up the two acts of kedushin. What about this case, guys? Bizu ubizu ubizu, be mekudeshes with this and this and this. Now, in yeshav pruta bekulon, now it's a combo. Then mekudeshes. So we have two statements. The first one is skachi, two separate statements, and then giving a few dates and using bezu. In that case, it will combine, and even though zichalein, each date would not be a shava pruta, but if in combo they are, it will be kiddush. That's the second case. Now we're going to say a third case, and the question is the third case going in question on number one or number two, guys? We're going to say a third clause, a third case. Is that third case going on number one and number two? That will be a machlokes in the Gemara, and that's going to go ahead and be with us till tomorrow. Okay, says the Gemara. If she's eating one by one, in other words, he gives her a date, she eats. Gives her a date, she eats. You're not mekudeshes until in one of them is the shava pruta, and the question is which case are we going on? Is it going on case number one or case number two? So again, case number one, hiskachi, you would need either one, they don't combine. The lashon and kedushin is two separate lashonos. Bezu, it's a combo. If now a third case, she's eating, you will not be, unless one of them had a shava pruta, you will not be mekudeshes. Okay, but that's the case. Now, man tana hiskachi, who's the tana of the ratio of hiskachi? Amar Rabba Rav Shimon, he Amar at Shiyom Shvul L'Cholecha B'Yechad. You might recall the other day we said that if I have in my rishus a few items from somebody and from a few different individuals, and they each make a claim, and I say shvua to you, and then I say to you, you'd only be chayiv once. But if I say shvua to you, the lashon is shvua, then I'd be chayiv to each and every one. So the shvua is tantamount to hiskachi, it's skachi, that you'd have to go ahead and divvy them up. Good? Now, case number two, bezuzu, and yesh b'kulin sheva pruta, and now, as often the Gemara does, fellas, we're making a linear in Gemara, you have to know the v'chulo. The v'chulo is going on what? And if you eat one by one, you have to have in one of them a sheva pruta. Hey. What case is it going on? Ilay ma'aresha, ma'yer yocheles, afilu menachas nami, doskachi li bezu ka'amar. Guys, what was the first case? Here's a date, and be mekudesh me with this date. Good. Let's say there isn't a shava pruta in that date. Nothing. It has nothing to do with eating. It has to do with a mitzias. In other words, what if you eat, right? And now what do we say? If in one of them is a shava pruta, then you're mekudeshes. Even if you don't eat, if you need one of them being a shavar pruta. Again, the lashon be mekudeshes to me with this date. Be mekudeshes to me with this date. So if you eat it, whatever you don't eat has to have a shavar pruta. Even if you don't eat it, you have to have a shavar pruta because each one independently of itself is a lashon of kedushin. So it has nothing to do with eating. Again, if you would say a skachili and you don't have a shavar pruta, it's lying there. You're not mekudeshes. So obviously, the case of eating can't be going on that case because in that case, afilu menachas, you need a shavar pruta. It's mashma that by eating it, you're messing things up. So it says the Gemara the following. So Ella must be going. It can't be going in the Reisha. Ella Seifa. It must be going on the Seifa. Okay, what's the Seifa? Seifa is bizu ubizu ubizu. Now let's touch the Mishnah. If you have in one of them a shavar pruta, you're mekudeshes. Good. So let's speak this out. At which point in time is she mekudeshes? When you say bizu ubizu ubizu, at the beginning or at the end? At the end. Bizu ubizu ubizu. In other words, I want you to be mekudeshes after the conclusion of, let's say, the 3 dates, right? So we said, if the 3 dates equal a shavar pruta, you're good. Okay, so watch. She eats 1 date. She eats 2 dates. And now the 3rd date, we said it has to have a shavar pruta in the 3rd date. Correct? It doesn't say the 3rd date. It says, yesh be'achas mehen. Good? So now, when she ate the 1st date, was there Kidushin yet? No, there wasn't Kidushin yet, correct? There wasn't Kidushin yet. Good? So what was that then? Why did she eat? What halacha are we going to give it? We'll give it the halacha of a milva. Something that l'chayra she owes him. In other words, it's not in the world at this time that he gave her anything. It's not here. Since the Kidushin is only chali after the 3rd date, you need a shavar pruta at that time. Mekadesh b'milva doesn't work. Why? Because you didn't give her anything. So if she eats it up, you're not giving her anything. So the Gemara asks right away, we'll see Rashi in a second. The Gemara asks, so it's going on the Seifa, that as long as you have a shavar pruta in one of them, you mekudeshes, v'afilu b'kamaisa. In other words, even in the 1st date she ate, you needed a shavar pruta, and then she would be mekudeshes for milvahi. It's the milva. Look at Rashi. Va'afilu b'kamaisa, va'afilu rishayna or yashniya shavar pruta, afal b'shein b'achrayna shavar pruta mekudeshes. In other words, by the 3rd date, let's say the 1st date has, the 2nd date has, but the 3rd one doesn't. Is she going to be mekudeshes for milvahi? Kim in the kedushin like nigmaru ad shetekablu kulam. Since the kedushin will not be completed until you makabel all 3, v'hi kvar achla esarishayna kodesh shetiska isa b'kedushaseha, and she already ate it before what? Before she was zoich in a kedushin. Havi zuharishayna milva gaba. It's like a milva by heart. So the Gemara says, I don't understand. It can't be going on case number 1, because case number 1, you need to have a shavar pruta regardless of the achila. Case number 2, it's mashma, is case number 2, as long as you have in one of them a shavar pruta, it's good. Meaning, in the first one, if I had a shavar pruta that I ate, it would be kedushin. At the time you ate it, there was no kedushin. The kedushin takes place at the last part. And at that part, you didn't give her anything. Why? Because the last date is not worth a shavar pruta. Again, that last part is a big lumnus over here. Again, the combo only when the chalois is at the last end. So the combo would be if you didn't eat it. So I didn't eat it. So I have bezu, bezu, bezu. At this point of Kedushin, it's here. You take a look. I got a combo right there. If you ate it, where's your combo? The combo's at the end, Ari, at the end. Since at the end, you don't have a combo. You only have one thing. And the last thing I have is what? It's not worth a shavar pruta. So Rashi tells us the case. In other words, you just said the lashon was, as long as you have a shavar pruta and one of them mekudeshes. Fred the Gemara, afil b'kamaisa. At the time of the chales kedushin, if the last one is not worth a shavar pruta, you don't have anything. The previous ones were. That is beged the milva by her. So that's the Gemara's kasha. What case is going on? So Rabbi Yochanan says, Rabbi Yochanan, Hari shulchan. I got a table. Hari basa. I got food. Hari sakin. I got the knife. The ein lanu pelechel, and I don't got a mouth to eat. Meaning, This is a good kasha. In other words, I'm stuck. It's going on one of the cases, but I got a problem. Which case is going? Beautiful lashon of the Gemara, right? Especially Simchas Yontif, right? In Daf Yomi, you want to put it on Rabbi, right? Simchas Yontif. You got a shulchan, you got the basa, and you don't got a mouth to eat. You have no appetite. You're overdosing on Ozempic, right? You're finished, guys. Anyway, says the Gemara. Ravu Shmuel Amit Shavayo, no. La'olam HaReisha. Guys, it's going on the Reisha. What's the Reisha? The Reisha is if Biskachi Bezu. What was the kasha? Achila has nothing to do with it. It has to do with what? Just leaving it there. Let me boy kamar. Let me boy menachas. You don't need to tell me that what? If it's around, it's worth a shavar pruta. Diika shavar pruta in ilay aval echeles. But what? When you eat something, right? Since you have hana, ema gomru makna nafsha kamash malon. So in other words, the havamina that of since you're having mamish hana, it's a svar, like it's to give tzedakah is one thing, to give food is a better thing because it's closer. So you might think that what, since she ate it, there's a svar to say that what she's mukudeshes, even though it's not a shava pruta. Now, kamash malon. Look at the bottom places, guys. Ema Gemara Gamra Umakna Afagav Toli Bidida. Even though it doesn't have nothing to do with her, Liskadesh Pachas Mishava Pruta Kidamina Peragama Miu Bekalois Tzrichus Taisus Yishanim. So in other words, sometimes the Gemara, just to make a tzrichasa to answer, they'll come up with a very easygoing teretz. So here's a very, even though it's a shvera havamina to say that she be mukudeshes less than a shava pruta. She ate a little bit, it's not worth a shava pruta, but to go ahead and make a tzrichasa with a dava kal with an easy way out, that the Gemara will do. Okay, so that's Rav and Shmuel. It's going on the Reisha. Again, guys, this is a very, very tough kasha. The kasha on the safe is a bomb, right? So the kasha in the Reisha, okay, I have a way out. It's nothing to do with eating, just as long as there's shava pruta there, you would have a havamina that what? A havamina that if you're eating. You don't need a shava pruta, because why? Because mekar v'hanayasai. And even though it doesn't have anything to do, we said even a woman will accept less than a shava pruta, it's not mekudeshes, right? They said earlier in the Masechta, kamash malon. It's a shver doichik. As I doichik to answer a kasha will do. Guys, you good? Okay, now there's another pshat over here. Rav Ami Yama, another pshat. Rav Ami Yama lo'olam aseifa. It's going on the seifa. Now, guys, what was the seifa? Bezu. You ate one, you ate two, and the last one's not worth the shava pruta. So, what's the kasha? It's a milva, the first two. It says the Gemara, Umay achei ba'achas mehen shava pruta. What do you mean till you have one of them? Achei hey ba'achroina shava pruta. But it's not so good. It says achas mehen. You're saying doesn't say achroina. It says achas. Each one is a doichik. In other words, Rav and Shmuel is doichik in svara, and Rav Ami is doichik in lashon. Why does the lashon say? It doesn't say the achroina. It says achas. One of them. He's learning that one. Which one? The last one. Why? Because the first two will be beged the milva. Once they're not in the world anymore, it has to be a shava pruta b'shas kedushin. So when the Mishnah said achas and men achreina, it should have said achreina, correct? Okay, so in other words, each one has its problems. So Rav and Shmuel in svara and Rabbi Rav Ami in what in lashon. Amarava Shmami Namid Rav Ami. From Rav Ami, we can ascertain three halachas. So again, guys, let's guess what did Rav Ami say? A guy gave a woman 3 dates and said bezu. If you eat the last, you need a shavar pruta in the last one. Good. Now, shmamina tlas. 3 things. Hamikadesh b'milva and a mukudeshes. In other words, you needed a shavar pruta in the last one. Why? Because the first 2 are not working. Why are the first 2 not working? They began the milva. Shmamina, hamikadesh b'milva upruta, daita pruta. If you mekadesh with 2 things, a halva and a pruta, your das is on the pruta. Guys, what were the first 2 things over here? Malva. What was the last thing? Pruta. She's mekudeshes, right? Why? Because what's your das on? You're not samich on the first 2 things where you're not giving anything. It's on the last thing. Okay. And finally, on the base, ushmamina mayis ba'al mechaizrin. Shmamina. If she would go ahead and go back on the Kidushin, that the money would go back. It's not a matana, says Rashi. Ushmamina moyes ba'al mechaizrin, kol Kidushin, shein Kidushin, any Kidushin that's not finalized, lo yamin moyes matana, el pikadon, It's entrusted. If you break off the engagement, you have to go ahead and return the ring. If you break off the engagement, you would have to return the ring. It's not a matana. It's not a matana, even though this is kedushin. Behind the korele lahach oicheles rishoina milva. That's what we call what you ate first a milva. The kivin the achlasa v'lesnu b'shas gemar kedushin. Since you ate it up and it's not around at the end of kedushin, which is chal only after bezu loy mikasha behen. You're not mekudeshes with them. It's like a picadon that you ate. This abin milva b'achilasa. And you became a milvin achila. So that's the way Rashi learns. Notice, I don't need it around at the end. At the end of Kidushin. In other words, if let's say it's not around, let's say you Makadesh guys. Here's a pruta, and you Makudeshes after 30 days. Even if it's not around after 30 days, you're still Makudeshes. I don't need it around. But with that, that's because I finalized the Kidushin. But when you don't finalize the Kidushin, then okay. Itmar. Guy's Makadesh's sister. Now we always say that everyone knows that what you can't be Makadesh's sister. That's the Gemara gives the example of something that what Emma. What do you say? Emma what? Emma come on, tell me out. Emma to what? Emma Chachma Achaisiyat, right? Emma Chachma Achaisiyat, right? Just as it's clear to you that what that your sister's not permitted to you, that's so to your chachma. Emel chachma achaisiyat. Itma makadosh achaisiyat. Ravam a mois chaisrin. The money goes back. You never meant to give it to her. Ushmul mois matana. The mois is a matana. Rav a mois chaisrin. The money goes back. Adam yadei, a person knows. Shein kidushin taifsim b'chaisai. The gom of anas l'shum b'kadin. He gave it to us to b'kadin to watch. Fred the gemara v'leim l'shum b'kadin. Why don't you say, hey, watch this? So in other words, this is a harama, this is a trick to get her to watch your money. Bim Kudeshes gives the money, never meant it, knows it doesn't work. What's he doing? He's doing a lot that she should give it back to him. Ushmul Sava Mois Matana. He's giving her matana because Adam Yadei Shein Kidushin Taisim B'Chaisai, the Gomar V'Nas L'Shem Matana. He concludes he wants to give it as a present. Fred the Gemara, the obvious question of a name Elu L'Shem Matana. Say I'm giving to you as a present. Sava Ksifa Lamilsa. She'll be embarrassed and she won't take it. So in other words, according to Shmuel, it's a chetimsa to go ahead and give her a present. So here it is, be mekudeshes to me, and she doesn't want it back. So according to Rav, he wants it back. It's a pikadon. It's entrusted to watch it. According to Shmuel, it's a matana. The Gemara now is going to question on Shmuel. The Gemara is going to go ahead, as Sully Bonsi is prone to say, "Mimerchak tavi lachma." Literally, mimerchak tavi lachma. We're going to bring from lechem. We're going to bring from the din of challah. We're going to bring a question. So now, the sugya, we know that Reish Arisa Seichem, when you get into Eretz Yisrael, right away, we said even though Truma or Maisa, you won't be chayiv until after Kibush V'chiluk, it says by Chala you can be chayiv right away, because it doesn't like B'chisavo, it says B'vayachem when you come. So there's din of Chala. If you have X amount, there's a din of Chala, you separate Chala, it has a din of Truma, you give it to the Kohen. Good? And we still do B'zman Hazeh, we separate Chala, and of course we burn it because there's no Kohen to give it to. And okay, so now, says the Gemara, I'm going to ask a question on Shmuel about Matana. Masiv Ravina. Ravina asks the following question. Hamafish chalasei kemach. Now, it says, where do you take challah from, guys? Reishes arisei sechem, the first of your dough. He went ahead and did a mistake. He took it off his flour. This does not have a din of challah. Challah is only reishes arisei sechem. It's not have a din of challah. Hamafish chalasei kemach. Ain't a challah. And if you give it to the kohen as a present, the kohen cannot keep it. The guzzle be ad kohen, and it's considered gezel in the hands of the kohen. V'amai gezel be ad kohen. Name adam yadeya shem afish nechala kemach. Everyone knows that what you can't marry your sister, and everyone knows you can't separate challah from flour. Challah, by its essence, is dough. So, in other words, two things that clearly you know about, yet distinctly different halachas. You, Shmuel, say by Kidushin, be Mekadesh your sister, you don't get it back. It's a matana. But why over here do you get it back? And it's Gezel. Why don't we say the same thing? Everyone knows that you can't be Mafish Challah from Kemach. And therefore you should get it back. Kasha on Shmuel on a thing that everyone knows the halach is a matana. You say that, keep it 1 second. So why does the Kohen have to give it back? Obviously what? He gave it as a matana. Why is he giving it back? Says the Gemara, Hasam the nafik chorvamine. Over there, the reason you give it back really is a good matana, guys. Really is a good matana. When it comes to dinei mominus, when it comes to choshim mishpat, this is a good matana. There is a side problem, a yerideidik problem. Why? It doesn't work. What's our problem? Hasan enough a churv amina. The churv is going to come out. Zimnin de islay lekoyin pachas mechamesh riva kemach. There's less than 5 1/4 of a kav, and that's the share of challah. Rashi brings a long Rashi over here. If you have an interest, you'll do it. If you don't have an interest, just listen to my words. 5 1/4 of a kav. Now, so he doesn't have. He's a quart short. V'hai olishlei v'hadei adadi. The kohen thinking that the flour was challah. He's thinking that the flour was challah, is going to mix it together. Ukesava niskana isasai. He's thinking the rest of his in other words, he thinks that what he got was what? The reason why he can give it back. Because he's going to think that this is not chayiv and challah. In other words, if you don't have the share of challah, you don't have to wait to get the share of challah. You go on as you go on, correct? So now, guys, watch. So this guy has 5 1/4, 5. He doesn't have. He's short a quarter. Now he has a quarter of kemach, and he thinks it's challah. So you mix it together with non challah. What do you got? Nothing. So the kohen's going to go ahead and use this, not realizing that this challah that he received wasn't challah. So what did he do by adding it to the rest? He created the chiyuv of challah. So therefore, to avoid this, we make him give back the kemach. Not als matana. Shmuel, you're correct. If it's a dava, you do it's a matana. Over here, we're worried about something else. He's going to think that what he has is not chayiv and challah because it's not the right amount. He's going to think the kemach is challah, and he put it in with the other, and therefore what? He won't have the right amount, and he's going to eat tevel. V'yasil michel betivla. 1 second. Why would you be worried about this? Everyone knows that you don't separate challah from kemach. So why would he think this kemach is challah? He should know obviously it's not. So what are you worried about? Him mixing it together? He knows this is not challah. Says he knows, but he doesn't know. But he doesn't know the reason. Guys, what's the reason, fellas? What's the reason? Because it says in the Torah, Reishis Arisai Sechem, the first of your dough, Kizeris HaKosev. This person's going to think it's a svara. What's the svara? Tamayu Mai Mishim Tircha the Kohen. Right? It's too much trouble to take the Kohen to need of challah. The Tircha the Kohen Achil say, and it says Michael the Tircha of the Kohen, and therefore once you take off the svara, so I'll think, okay, no, it's part. He's in Makabel, very good. Okay, so therefore that's what you're worried about. Okay, so now we answered the question, guys. What's a kasha? Why don't you say, why does he have to give it back? If the rule of it's a matana, don't give it back. And for the Gemara, the problem is that he may go ahead, mix it together with something that's not chayiv, and thinking it is chayiv, and he'll go ahead, he'll come out, he'll create the chayiv. Now the Gemara just digresses and to say, why is the only option for him to give it back and it's gezel? I have another option. What's the other option? Says the Gemara, v'thavi truma. Let's say truma doesn't mean truma over here, it means matnas kahuna. Let's say this challah should stay by the kohen and will separate challah from another place. Just like truma will show you, truma you separate from another place, so too over here you can separate challah from another place. In other words, why was the only eight? So you're a goslin, you got to give it back. In other words, we're focusing. You got the teretz already. Matana, we dealt with our Kidushin sugya. We dealt with the Matana sugya. We're just questioning the halacha. Why would the kohen have to give it back? There's another eitzah. I'll show you there is another eitzah. What's the other eitzah? Milay Tanan, the following. Minan nakov shein nakov. Now we're familiar with infamous utzitz nakov. If a flower pot has a hole in it, it's chayiv and shuma deraisa because it's being nurtured from Eretz Yisrael. If it's ein nakov, if it doesn't have a hole, then it's the rabbanon. So one is chayiv, one's pata. Now. So you took off min anakov, that's a chiv, al she'en anakov truma, v'lei toichal at sheyotzil truma ma'aseh makam acher. Okay, and what's the halacha? Since you take off from the chiv al ptur, it's not considered my truma. What do you have to do? You take off truma from another place. The same thing over here. Why don't we say you take off challah from another place? Why do you have to go ahead and give it back? Says the Gemara, I'll tell you why. Betray mani soyas. In two separate pots, literally, the kohen will listen. Rashi speaks out. It seems to say in two separate things. I can see one is a chayiv, one is a patur. But if it's one thing to say that this one thing is what is a chayiv, not. That seems to be the svara. So memela over there by truma, where one was a chayiv, one is a patur, you have the option of keeping it and having the truma separated from another place. Over here by challah, where it's in one mano, one kli, you don't have that option. You have to return it. If the challah was separated from kamach, the Gemara continues. I have another eitzah. V'bay same another teretz. The kohen will listen. He'll listen to what to even one mana. Ukasavar, it's not the kohen's problem. It's the balabayas netakna. If the balabayas is going to think netakna isasai, v'yasal michletivla. You know what he's going to do? Until now, it's the kohen's problem, guys. The kohen's going to mix it together. You know what he's going to do? He's going to separate the challah from the other dough. From the other flour? What's he going to think? He's going to think the flour is mitukin, and it's not. You may never separate the challah. Oh, I have to ask the question again. Everyone knows the halacha. Okay. In other words, it's just going in a different direction now. In the first teretz, it was the kohen's problem. Worry what the kohen's going to do. Now we're worried about the balabayas. Balabayas separates challah from the dough, from kemach. He gives it to the kohen. And he's going to think that the dough that remained, that he separated from, is mitukin. Oh, says the Gemara, everyone knows that you can't separate challah kamach, so what are you worried that he's going to say it's mitukin? Says the Gemara, no. Again, the reason is Rachel Seichem, but he's going to think it's a svara. The summertime am I mishum tircha the kohen. Tircha the kohen, he's not. What did the kohen do? Kiblo leha, he was makabel. So therefore, it was kabel. Okay, very good. Everything's mitukin. Okay, the same kind. So in other words, and that's why you have to return it. Fred the Gemara of Tahavi Truma v'Yachsa v'Yitroim. That's the same thing. Milay Tanan Mishaina Nakav. Here's the opposite. Mishaina Nakav on the Patur, ala Nakav on the Chiyuv Truma v'Yachsa v'Yitroim. Now it is Truma, guys. If you take away from the Patur from the Chiyuv on the Patur, it is good. The first one it's not good. Here it is good. However, Yachsa v'Yitroim. Hokim the betray money, tzayis v'chadman oleit tzayis. Fredim oleit tzayis. A person won't in one kli won't listen. With second v'tanan, hatorim kishus. The person is taking truma of gourds. V'nimtza mar, and he finds one bitter. The truma was bitter. Avatiach melons. V'nimtza suruach, and it was spoiled. So this is all one mana, guys. You're taking off from a pile of gourds, or you're taking off from a pile of melons. And truma v'yachsa v'yitroim. So why do you see that even though it's one kli? So why over here by challah that's one kli that you say gezel b'yad koyin and you expect them to return it? Why don't we say what yachsa v'yitroim shiny hasam the midaraisa truma ma'al yehi midaraisa? This is really good truma if you take off from truma daraisa and truma darabanan, right? Midarabloy don't have a loy minayin l'torim min hara ala yafa. How do you know you take off? Excuse me, I mixed up. Even though it's bitter and even though what it's ruined, it's still good. Even though you're taking raw on. Because you take a raw malayafit shumas shnamar leisisa love chait. You should not carry a chait. Rimchem eskel boy when you go ahead and you separate from your best your chaylev. Im ene kodesh nesias chait lama. Now it says leisisa love chait by separating junk. Now if it's not considered truma, where's your chait? You need to do the mitzvah. So obviously, what's the chait? You yaitz in the mitzvah. So that's how you know that you mafish a raw. So therefore, that's why when you separate from the raw on good, the reason why even though it's in one mana, that you could take it's because midrash is good truma. So therefore, midrash mana you could say separate another truma. Mashen came where what by the kemach. It's not at all. It's not truma at all. Therefore, in one kli, it doesn't work. And then in the siyas chalalama, the kan the torim in a rala yafa shet truma say truma. Oh, we'll stop over here. Tomorrow morning, tomorrow 2 daf, I guess. Tomorrow morning in the afternoon, we'll say the second daf. Do the best we can.